Spike planted.
We just lost the round. Or did we? Everyone loves to have a lineup Larry in their team. But what if we were all a Larry? Is it possible to win every attack round by just sitting in spawn to defend the spike from there with lineups? Because you know, that's a lot easier than to hope your teammate is actually holding your flank. But the question we have to ask ourselves first is, can we even make the spike inaccessible for 45 seconds, which is the ticking down duration of the spike, with just 5 agents? I took a look at all the agents in Valorant and checked which actually have abilities to stop the opponents from defusing. So, armed with a handy stopwatch and some patience, I organized my findings in a clean table of contents. Clean table of contents. To clarify, on the left you see the agent's name, a bit to the right if they can stop the enemies with a lineup or generally just from spawn. Under abilities there are the abilities that these agents can use to stop the defuse and how many. And last but not least, the amount of time that they can stop the opponents and the grand total, which is basically primary school math. At first glance, we can already tell that Jett, Cypher, Chamber, Neon, Omen, Reyna, Yoru and Sage have no abilities that can area denial or deal damage to the enemy defusing the spike. I did put a question mark behind Sage's no, because in theory she can put a wall around the spike, but that needs her to be around it to do that, which doesn't fit with the premise of the experiment. Even though in practice someone will always be next to the spike, as it doesn't plant itself, obviously. The agents that can stop the spike are Viper with his Snakebite and her Toxic Screen combo, Brimstone with his ult and his molly, Breach with his Aftershock and his Earthquake, Killjoy with the 2 nades and ult, and I only count the time detained by the ult, Sova with his Shock Dart and his ulti, Astra with a pull to pull the opponents away from the spike, Raze with her nade and her ult, Phoenix with his Firebending, KO with his Fragment Grenade, and Skye with her Wolf, which I did give a question mark as well because it doesn't do much damage, only 30, and that's if you can get your Wolf to launch at the enemy, which is already super unlikely. Nonetheless, she can run it from the spawn, so it classifies. Unfortunately, we don't play against 1 HP opponents all the time, and especially when we smoke rush into side to plant, just to rush out the moment it's down, it's very likely our opponents will be full 150 HP. To keep it a realistic scenario and a doable experiment, I made the rule that the moment something damages the area around the spike, it counts as inaccessible. As in a real game, people would back off the moment they see the incoming danger, or they would die if they don't step away, as most area denial abilities kill the defusing opponent within 3 seconds. Which is just in time to stop them from reaching a 3.5 seconds mark, which counts as a checkpoint for the defuse sequence. Regarding single damage abilities like Sova's Dart and Raze's nades and ult, basically the moment it connects, it counts as a 1 second of inaccessibility, which I think is more than fair. Raze's nades explode twice, which means 2 seconds plus the arming time between the first and second explosion make up a beautiful 4 to 5 seconds. And if Raze's ultimate is ready, you can add another second to that, but only if you can get high enough to get a shot onto the spike. So, can we Larry our way to victory? If we count the top 5 agents with the most seconds of area covered together, which are Killjoy, Viper, Brim, Breach and Sova, we get a surprising total of, drumroll please, 55 seconds of constant inaccessibility around the spike. That's it I guess, case closed. The spike takes 45 seconds to explode, so we even have 10 seconds of wiggle room in case we're anxious that we might have missed the lineup. But how realistic is this? First of all, in a real game, you don't always have your ultimate ready. So that would mean that Killjoy, Breach and Sova, which can stop the defuse for 16, 9 and 8 seconds respectively, suddenly can only do 8, 3 and 2 seconds, and that is a massive difference. So we definitely have to swap out some agents in our lineup, which I think is for the better anyway, as we are kind of missing some duelists. The most logical thing to do is to move Breach and Sova down to their newest spots and to pick up the next 2 best agents. So according to our new list, those agents will be Astra and Raze. So now we went from Viper, Brim, Breach, Killjoy and Sova to Viper, ultless Brim, ultless Killjoy, Astra and ultless Raze with a grand total of 37 seconds. That's 8 seconds short. It's still very doable though. If we send in Raze to plant and she stays hidden there for 8 seconds and then uses her nades and dies, we can still make it. But now we're definitely reaching. But you know what? I don't care. Let's just keep it going. And you know what else? Let's give Sage some love. And who knows, maybe she is a big game changer. Okay, so, when Sage places a wall around the spike and we are playing against opponents with Vandals and Phantoms, she can cover the spike for around 3 seconds. That's how long it takes for these guns to open a solidified wall. Yes or no, there are a lot more variables and possibilities like sideways wall blocking an entire hallway or the wall not having enough time to harden before it gets shot open, but let's keep it simplified for the sake of the argument. So, with her 3 seconds of inaccessibility, she only manages to sit near the bottom of the Larrys, but hey, it was worth the try. Coming back to the new Larry lineup, rule of thumb says that to make a good agent composition you need 2 duelists, a controller, a sentinel, and an initiator. So, if we divide the agents into the respective roles, we have for the duelist spots 2 agents. Raze with her paint shells and Phoenix with his hot hands. The best controller to take is by far Viper, as Brimstone without his ult doesn't even get close with only 7 seconds. And the best sentinel is by far Killjoy. The top initiator would be Breach, but if we don't count ultimates, he drops down to second and Sova to third, leaving KO at the top with a juicy 4 seconds. So, our non-ult brand new VCT ready lineup is Raze, Phoenix, Viper, Killjoy and KO. At first glance, it doesn't appear to be a bad lineup. It would definitely be better if we had a different duelist than Phoenix, because he's kinda weak right now, but it will do. But more importantly, how long can we make the spike inaccessible? A grand total of 34 seconds. Without their ultimates. This means it leaves the spike vulnerable for a whole 11 seconds. Not all hope is lost however, because there is one more thing that we haven't spoke about, and that is the defuse time. It takes 7 seconds flat to defuse the spike, which means we don't have to necessarily have something ready for those seconds. So, we can take away 6.9999 or simply said 6 seconds of the vulnerable 11, which leaves 5 seconds of time to fill by ourselves. Which, is easy enough. We can just leave Phoenix on site to delay with his wall for 5 seconds and then throw his fire on the floor afterwards. So there we have it, the agent composition of the future. Just don't die when entering and leaving site and you have nothing to worry about, right? Now before we end the video, I'm sure you all want to see it work in action, so here it is. I present to you the new VCT meta lineup. With ultimates make it look easy. Thank you so much for watching and please consider subscribing for more and check me out on Twitch. I'm live every day 6 PM Amsterdam time and that's about it. Good night and sleep tight.
Spike planted. You should run. Flawless.